From stream library. From stream.
So is stateful intermediate
Once again,
operations?
it is streams. Your question is from streams, right?
Yeah, lesson
Okay, let me open the
9.
slide. Give me a
Yeah.
moment to open a slide. What's the slide number?
35.
Okay.
Oh,
This
is it?
one.
Is it?
This one.
Yeah.
Okay.
This line said that the limit skip is stateless, but I read um s- the lesson note
Mm.
already said that the skip and limit is stateful.
Operations.
Yeah,
Well, I can put a notes yesterday, right?
yeah.
Somewhere. Lesson 9.
Take yeah.
Okay.
Lesson 9.
Let me check that notes. Really notes. Lesson 9.
Yeah.
Over here.
Yeah.
Just
No,
change it
up.
on skip on limit, right?
Yeah. Can you
Return or
go?
intermediate, right? We didn't specify stateful or stateless here. I don't see anything like that.
So I know you can go up.
Up.
Yeah.
Mm.
A little bit. Yeah. You can stop.
Ah.
Here.
There are some stateful operations and collect which may pass the state. Okay, let me check it. This is from the textbook. I found orally
Yeah.
textbook, but this is some other textbook. Okay, maybe you noticed. Let me check it and go through the Oracle documentation and get back to you. Okay. Thank you
Okay.
for letting. Let's see the Oracle documentation and we will go with that. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions you guys have? Okay, let's continue the session with the today's lecture, generics. So, which is an important knowledge. Wholeness of this lesson, Java generics facilitates stronger type checking, making it possible to catch the potential casting errors at compile time rather than at runtime, and in many cases, eliminate the need for downcasting. Generics also make it possible to support more general possible API for the methods that can be generalized. We see this in simple methods like max and short, and also in a new stream methods like filter and map. Generics involves type variables that can be stand for any possible type. In this sense, they embody a universal quality. Yes, it is by virtue of universal quality we are able to specify the particular type instead of raw type. So if you see list T, it is a specific type. And when I don't specify anything, everything considered as a raw type. Same way of essay knowledge. This shows how the lively presence of universal sharpens and enhances the particulars of individual expression. Likewise, contact with the universal level of intelligence sharpens and enhances the individual traits. So this is our agenda. I will talk about introduction to generics, generic methods, wildcards, and common generic signatures. That's what we are focusing today. So I will go one by one to explain this one from the slide code. So slide number 4. Over here, when you look at this code, we didn't specify any type here. So by default, it is an object type, which is followed pre-JDK 5. So generics is introduced from the JDK version 5. So at that time, we can use the parameterized type to specify. So let me go over this code and type it on IDE one by one. Then it is easy for you. Slide number 4. Okay, I have some code. Let me copy and paste it here. So this is, okay, I have to import some libraries. So when you add an elements here, did you notice what the type of input here is? Object. So this is called as raw type. So when you not specify any type, within this angle brackets, which is no type, indicates raw type. So all inputs are object type. So what is the drawback is you can add any values in this collection. It does not maintain an int collection or float collection because of it accept a raw type of object. And also you notice some warning. Array list is a raw type, which is not a generic type. So this is the drawback. When I want to retrieve, I know the first input of get of 0th position, your input is a string value. So in the 0th position, the input is a string type. So when I try to retrieve as a string type, you will get error because all my inputs are object type. So what you need to do it is explicitly you need to do casting. So this is the drawback. When you work with the raw type, your collection can accept any values, but when you want to retrieve to a specific type, you have to do casting. So this is the drawback. But when I retrieve as an object type, I no need to do any casting. So this is the drawback. So if we prefer to go with the generic type, then we no need to worry about this typecasting. Okay. So parameterized type. So the benefits, what we can get at is, okay, let me copy and paste with this values. So raw type means always you need to do the downcasting. These are the drawbacks when you prefer to go with the raw type. So you need to do the downcasting. So what is the advantage if we go with the parameterized type? When I go with the parameterized type, it will do the compile time verification and also there is no need for downcasting. So I populated my collection as a type of string. And so from JDK8, you don't need to specify on the right side. Only left side, if you specify, that is enough from JDK 7 version, I hope so. So when you look at here, when I keep my cursor on the add method, it accepts the input of object. But when I specify here, your add method accepts a type of string. So automatically your compiler will apply the type, whatever you specified on the left side. So it will replace the generic type with the string. So that's what I can able to add a string. Suppose if I try to add some other values on this collection, word.add of, if I put in, you will get error. This is called compile time error verification. So it says your collection is only applicable for string and not applicable for integer. So you will get a error, compile time error. That is the benefit. Compile error said not suitable for int type. It accepts only a string type. So we will get strong compiler verification when we go for this kind of generic. So when I want to retrieve a value, look at that get method signature. It accepts a string value. But when you see in the previous case, the get method will always return an object because of raw type. So that's what we can do the compile time verification on type automatically. So that's what we want to go with the parameterized type. So this is what, according to the slide number 4, these are the benefits. What happened when we go with the object type and when we go with the generic type. Please look at the slide and let me know if you have any questions. Any question on the understanding of what is raw type and what is a generic type? Then we will look about how to create a generic class, everything. Any question on raw type and parameterized type? Let's move to the next slide. So what are the benefits I can get when we go for a generics? So the first benefit is strong type check at compile time. So your compiler will verify the type because of all the generic types or replaced with the type what you specify inside the parameter. So it will detect the errors at compile time. That is what a programmer need instead of finding out at runtime if you find it at compile time. So there is a poor type checking when you use the raw type, but when you do with the generic type, there is no need for downcasting. That is your second benefit. So That's about the second point. Usually we don't want to do the downcasting. It is an anti-over pattern. For example, I have a closed cover object. When you do downcasting, it is not a good practice. And the third important knowledge is it may support possible generalized type. For example, the same scenario, if you look at, I can create a list of string even with the same in your API library. If you look at, you have only one array class. But using that array class, I can create any type of list. For example, the same array class. The library does not have so many API library of name with array list, which accept a string, which accept a integer. So one class can accept any type. So the list, there is only one interface list. There is only one class array list, but it may accept for all the data type because our library is generic. So you can take a possibility of several types with one class. So this is what we are going to learn through this generics example, how to find the maximum number from the given collection. We are going to provide a generic solution which accept any type. So that's what we are going to learn. The third knowledge is support the most general possible API methods that can be generalized for any type. So don't ask question from this. This is what we are going to identify the solution for this task. So one method can perform multiple tasks for different data type. That is the advantages. Okay. So if you look at this ArrayList library, let me open the ArrayList library, how it support all different types. ArrayList, when you look at that ArrayList, did you notice it accept a type E? That's what whenever we specify in the array list, maybe if I want to specify as a type of array list, so you have to specify the type. So maybe it is a double collection. So you have to put doubles is equal to new array list. So look at the scenario. Why we need to specify this type? When you specify the type here, it will automatically replace the E with the type what you specify double. So wherever you need a type E, that all replaced with double. That's what your array list is, a generic class. The same way, if you look at the list interface, which is the generic. So that's what I can able to use the same library for any data type, even for employee, even for manager, whatever it is. So that's the benefit of going with generics. So that's what, when you look at the ArrayList API, it has some type T. So this is the type variable. That's your generic parameter. So you have to specify the type. The compiler will replace those type T with the type what you specify. So list of string words. So it automatically info the type at compile time is all your collection is the type of string. Okay. So do you have any question between the raw type and parameterized type? Please read out the slide. I already explained the concept, why we need a raw type and generic type differentiation. Please read out this one. Any point is unclear, let me know. Any questions here? Let me turn off my camera. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So when you want to create your own generic type class, what kind of type name you can specify? For example, I want to create a generic type of class or interface which accept an input of element. So that's what E letter. When you look at the API library, they prefer E, which means of element type. So that's what they use, E letter. Then if I need some key value, I can use the K name. Some meaningful name you can provide instead of ABCD. Key means K, N means number, T means type, V means value. Other than that, if you need several types of, then you can go for another letter SUB or ABCD, whatever you want. So that way you can give a name for within the brackets when you design your own generic interface or generic method. So I will show you this example by creating in your lecture, Eclipse IDE, I put the slide number 11. So I created a class called myPair. So this is for your demo of slide number 11. I created a class called myPair, which accepts a key and the value. I have a constructor and I have some getter method and I have some toString method. Okay, so over here, when I create an object, your constructor will accept string and integer. So I can pass only the string and integer. What happened when I pass a different data type here? I want to pass the 1001 and I'm going to pass the name. So you will get automatically a compilation error. The reason is it accepts only a type of. So what will be the error is there is no such constructor to accept a type of string and integer comma string. So over here, it accepts only a type of string and integer. I cannot pass any other type. Now I would like to make my class to accept any type of key and value pair. So here is the step. If I want to create my own class, which a generic class. So now we are going to mod this class. This code can accept a pair of string comma integer. So now I want to make my class to generics. So I want to make my class as generic to accept any type of pass. So the simple thing is after the class name, specify the generic parameters. So I have two value. I go with key and value. So I would like to go with key and v, k and v. Wherever you need a type of k, you can replace here with k. The type 1 is replaced with k and the type 2 is replaced with v. So wherever you need a type, specify it with k and v. So get key will return a type of k and get value will return a type of v, right? Now, inside the toString method, I want to know the runtime type. So I hope you all familiar with this method call. So if you have some object type, .getClass.get simple name will tell you the runtime type. So which is useful when you work with the polymorphism. Okay, look at here. Automatically, I will get a warning. See, I used the raw type. So if I want a parameterized type, what I need to do? Specify the type here. String, comma, integer. So inside the parameterized type, please go with the object type, not primitive integer. So now this is the type which accept integer comma string. So integer comma string. So now your class becomes a generic class and it can accept of any type, whatever you want. So one class can work with different types. So I'm going to print out the object P1. So when you run this code, the type K is string and the type V is integer. So the same way you can create even an interface. So string comma integer and another type is integer comma string. So whatever type you want, you can go with. The same way if you want to create an interface, go with the same. So I think we have an interface. See here, we have an interface. You want to create a generic interface. Interface name followed by your letters. What are the type names you want? K comma V. So get key and get value. So this is your class implements a pair of string comma integer. Now over here in this scenario, your class is also a generic class. Now this class will works as only for the type of string and integer, but this can be a generic class. That's what when you use comparator, do you notice? If I need a comparator class, what you can do? You can create an object of comparator. If I need for employee, You can specify employee. The same way here, I want to make my class as generic pair of k comma b. I want to make my class as a particular type. It will be pair of string comma integer. That's what. If you don't specify any type, your comparator will work as an object. When you specify the type of comparator is equal to new comparator, I can go for anonymous, but now I don't have an employee class here. So that's what the benefit of going with generics. When you look at the list interface, it is a generic interface. If you want to look at comparator, it accepts any type of comparator for employee, manager, student, whatever type you want, you can go with that because your comparator is a generic interface. So you have one unimplemented method. Look at that one. Each type, whatever argument type you specified, the arguments are replaced with the type. So when you create a comparator of employee, the T is replaced with employee. So that is the knowledge. Please take a look at this part. Let me know if you have any questions here. How many types? If we need 3 different types, use 3 different variable name. But you want to go with only one type, then put K. All the places you can prefer only the K type. So please look at this code. Let me know if you have question. How to create a generic class or generic interface. Ah, any questions? How to create a generic interface or generic class? Let's go to the next slide. Ah. Right. So here is your class. If you want to inherit from the ArrayList API, so your class also becomes a generic class. So when I create my class, which inherits from the particular type, you can go with the particular type. So this is called parameterized type of subclass. This is a generic type of subclass. Okay. Now, the another important concept we are looking now is type eraser. So what is the type eraser concept? So as all aware of it, in the pre-JDK 8, sorry, pre-JDK 5, so Java generics is introduced from JDK 5 version. Okay, so pre-JDK 5, we have only generic type. There is no generic type. It's all objective. So pre-JDK 5, Java supports only object type, only raw type, which is object, right? So now the JDK introduced generics from the 5, but pre-JDK 5 library, how can I compromise the pre-JDK 5? Okay, so for that reason, type eraser concept is introduced. Type eraser concept is introduced to support backward compatibility. So for that reason, type eraser. So what is the type eraser definition is the information on generics is used by the compiler, but it is not available at runtime. For example, if you look at here, at the compile time, I created my object as a type of raw type, so which accept a string and I can add a string and get a value. What happened is when you run your code, the compiler will automatically convert this code into this to support the backward compatibility, which means runtime there is no type available. That's what your Java generics do all the compile time verification. Then at the runtime, everything is converted into an object. But you don't need to do this concept. It is automatically done by the compiler to support the backward compatibility. So please read this slide code and let me know if you have any questions. What is the concept of type erasure and why we need this concept? Let me make sure, did I start record the session? I'm sorry. Yes. Okay, read the slide. You can read the slide. I'll bring some more water. Any questions?
So
Any question
I
on
have a
title?
question.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, go ahead.
So I mean, this means that when we are using reflection, there won't be any additional support for generics, right? So it will be
Yes,
the
yes, yes.
okay.
So you can test it at the compile time, right? Everything. It will automatically convert. When you do testing also, it will do the same conversion. Okay, you have no issue when you do testing. Any other questions here? Okay, that's what. When you declare your type as list string, list integer, list of list integer, whatever type you specified at compile time, which is not available at runtime, you have only list type. So all code A is processed into code B. The compiler will carry out the same downcasting to support the pre-generics Java version. So now we are going to learn about what are the downside when we use generics, but this concept is a little bit confusing. Please listen carefully this concept. So we are going to know the restriction. So that is called as unintuitive technically. So this is hard to pronounce. You can say downside. Okay. The first rule is generic subtyping is not covariant. So what is not covariant means if we have inheritance, manager is a subclass of employee. But when you have array list of manager, which is not a subclass of array list of employee. If I have manager, but arrays is covariant, but array list is not covariant. I will show you the code to give you better understanding. Just take as a rule, I cannot. What does it mean is if I want to assign a collection of array list manager to the array list employee type, it is not supported because the rule is generic subtyping is not covariant. But if you have a collection of manager array and you can declare a type of employee array and you can assign all the manager collection to the employee, it support. But this one is not supportable. Let's see the example. I have slide 18 code. I'm going to copy this code. Okay, sorry, let me pull out the notes. Slide number 18. Okay, let me copy this code. So I have a number collection. So let's understand the rule. Please mute your mic, someone. Okay, so let's understand the first rule. Array subtypes are covariant. So everybody familiar with that? Integer class extends from number class. Anybody have a question on this knowledge? Integer class integer extends number type. Anybody have a question on this line? Okay. So number is inherited from, integer is inherited from number. So I can declare a type of number, which is the super type, and I'm going to assign 2, 3 as a type of integer. So when I do this one, number is equal to in. According to the rulers, array subtyping is covariant. If you have some subtype, assign into supertype. So this is applicable. Any question up to this 3 lines? The rulers, array subtyping is covariant. Yes. The meaning is assign the subtype to your parent type. So you have any subtype collection can assign to number type, which is the super type. So this concept is called as covariant. Subtype is covariant. Covariant means I can assign the subtype to the super type. Any question on these 3 lines of code? Please listen carefully. It's quite confusing when you come to the generics. But if you have strong with the rule, then you won't get any confusion. No. So when I print this collection, what it will do? Print 1, 2 on your console. So when I run this code, it will print 2, 3. Let's come to the rule. Array subtyping is not covariant. So this is the rule. You have to accept as a rule. Generic subtyping is not covariant. So I have a list integer I created as an array list. So you added 2 items into your integer collection. And here you will get a error. I want to assign, this is your integer collection, subtype to your list number. So what will be the error? Okay, let me remove this. When you do this, you will get a compile time error. Cannot convert from list number to the list integer. So number 1 is a type of number type. INTS is a type of integer. So I cannot assign integer to number. That is the slide rule. Okay. So when you look at here, array employee, manager is inherited from employee. I cannot assign all the manager collection of lists to the list of employee. It is not supported. Okay. So here is the pictorial representation. If I have manager and employee has inheritance relationship, so I can substitute manager array, assign manager collection to the type of employee collection. It's possible because arrays are covariant. But if I have a list of manager, if I try to assign list of employee, it is not possible. The rule is array list subtyping, generic subtyping is not covariant. So this is the rule 1. Why it is at the runtime, everything is converted into a list. So the compiler do the verification at compile time, but it cannot do it at runtime. So at the time, whether it is a number type or integer type, nothing will be known. So this is the rule. Okay. Please read out the slide and the comment lines. Let me know if you have question on the rules. Read out the comments. And this slide 18 part of code. So this line will produce compilation error. Produce. Any question on rule 1? Any questions from the rule 1? Good. Let's go to the rule 2. Okay, if you want to know more about this mathematical definition as given to you, if somebody have good mathematical background, you can read it about the covariant rule from mathematics. Okay, the second rule is component type of an array is not allowed to be a type variable. Okay, let's go over this one. Slide number 22. Let's copy and paste this code. Slide number 22. We have some method. Okay, I'm going to create a method. This is the same code which is copied from the slide. Okay, I'm going to paste it as a separate method here. Okay, we are going to learn the rule of the second rule, component type of. The rule 2 is array is not allowed to be a type variable. So what that it means? Okay. So here I have created my array. You can declare as a generic array. So this is a generic array. So how can I declare any arrays if you have created some array? So you are going to declare, let's take a string array. String names is equal to, how can I create a new string array? New string of, you can pass the initial size, right? Like this, I cannot create for the component type. What does it mean is, how I am doing a new string of, if I try to do a type of T, collection 1 is equal to new T of, that is your generic type. If you do this one, you will get error. What is the error? Cannot create a generic array of type E. So this is the meaning of the rule. Component type of an array is not allowed to be a type variable. So this is a component collection. I cannot declare like this. The reason is your T is an unknown type. So whenever I use a new keyword, the job of new keyword is allocate a memory for this one. So whatever size I specify, it will allocate a memory consecutively with the default values. Now T is an unknown type. So your compiler will not allocate a memory for the unknown type. So what will be the solution here is, you can declare as a generic array, but when you initialize a memory by using a new keyword, it should be new of. So this will create an error. So to overcome that, you can create an array by this way. We have to do it with the, okay. You have to convert into an object. So if I want to remove it, you have to convert it into an object type. Then you can do it. New object of, and you have to do the casting. So then converted into a T type, new object of, then converted into a T type. Okay, where is that line? Okay, give me a moment. To do the casting. Okay, let me pull out this one. Okay, this is what you need to do. Capital OB, capital O, new object of. So over here, I need to convert it into a type of this. Then this is the right approach. So what you can do it is, if you do this way, it will work. So this code will give you a compilation error. To get rid of this, when you do by this way, it will be executable. So the error is, this is the reason. Okay, let me copy and paste this reason down. You will get a compilation error due to the rule 2. Rule 2 is this one. So here is the solution. Okay, here is the solution to create allocate memory for the generic array. To allocate memory for the generic array. Okay, so the rule 2 is component type of array is not allowed. I cannot allocate a memory with new of T. So what the reason is, T is an unknown type. We cannot allocate a memory whenever you use a new keyword. It will initialize the consecutive memory with its default values. For the unknown type, we cannot make an initialization. So for that, if it is an integer collection, what it will do, allocate with 0.0. But if it is a double 0.0, object means null. So the T is unknown type. So for that reason, you can create a generic array only by this way. So these are the lines how to create a generic array. Please take a look at this comments and the error and the solution. Let me know any question on rule 2. So just look at this line. Don't worry about the method signature that we will look out after a few slides. Okay, just look at the highlighted part and let me know if you have a question. Any questions? Rule 2, clear? Okay, let's move to the rule 3. Component type of an array is not allowed to be a parameterized type. Okay, what does it mean? Okay, can I create an array like this? I can put this array list as a type of array. If you create like this is not possible. So this is the wrong. You cannot make it into a type of this one. You cannot make a list declare like this. So this is a slide number 23. Okay, let me copy and paste this code. You will get definitely error. That is the rule 3. Okay, right way to declare. Slide number 23. If you try to declare as a collection of like this, it is an error. So it will give you an error. Cannot create a generic array of array list string. So if I want a list, I want to make a collection of collection. So this is the right way. Inside that, your list can accept a list of string. So this is the way to declare it. I cannot make my collection as an array. This is wrong. So component type of declaration of generic is not allowed for the parameterized type. So if I need a collection of collection, this is the right way. And this is not a right way. That is the rule 3. Please take a look. Let me know if you have a question. Okay, that's what. Here is the method. The method cannot combine the two lists like this and it cannot return. So this is an error. Component type of an array is not allowed to be a parameterized type. You will get a compilation error. That is the rule 3. So the reason is, in general, there are two types are available. One is refiable type, another one is non-refiable type. So the meaning for refiable type is any object's type is available at compile time as well as available at runtime. It is called refiable type. So primitives, all non-generic types, raw type is an object. So we will talk about unbounded wildcards. So these are all comes under the category of refiable type, which means that the type is fully available at runtime. So for example, string object, new string of object. So this OB is a type of string at compile time as well as at the runtime. But what about I declare a list string, new array list of string. So in this case, the type is available string only at compile time. But when you run the code, it is a type of object. So it is not as the same type what I declare at compile time. So generic is a concept of non-refiable types. So that's what when you declare as a compound type, which is not available at runtime. So that's what these rules are framed. So you cannot declare like this. Okay, read out this slide. Let me know if you have any clarity. So before moving into the generic methods, so this is what I told you, right? If I want to create my method as generic, I'll show you one simple example here. Okay, so I would like to write a method which is a non-generic method, then I will type it as a generic method. Okay, let's take this method. Slide number 26. For the slide number 26. Okay, I want to make a method to print any type of array. For example, if I give a type it as, if I declare this method to accept a string array, and it has to print the string values and print the collection. Okay, so how can I call this method? Let's keep it as public. If I want to call the print method, to pass some strings. Okay. So let's go over here. Calling non-generic print method. Print method. So I need a collection of string array. String array is equal to, I'm going to populate some default values. So when I call this method, I can able to pass only the array collection. So print of ARR, because this method can accept a type of only string array. So when I run this method, the ABC values are printed on the console. Now, if I want to make my collection as integer type, so I would like to make it into a type of integer, and I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. If I call print of ARR1, what it will say? What happened? ARR1. When I ARR1, you will get error. So when I try to call this one, what it says? Your collection is a type of string. It cannot accept a type of integer. So how can I write a generic method? So let's do for the generic method. So we already know about how to create a generic class and generic interface. Now look at my class name is generics demo December 2022. This is not a generic class, but inside this generic class, I need some generic method. So how can I create a generic method? Okay, this is a non-generic method. I want to convert this method into a generic method. So that's the idea you're going to learn now. How can I create a generic method even my class is not a generic? So just copy and paste the same code. As per the rule, if it is a class, after the class name, we put this bracket, but this is a method. So before the return type, you have to specify the type, what your method accept a generic. So this is your element type. So whenever you need a type, before the return type, specify. If your method need two different types of letters, put E, comma, V, whatever you want. But I want to go with only one type. So whenever you need a type, just replace with E. So here also it is E. So now when I call this line, see automatically the error is gone because I created a generic method. So with this method, so I want to change this name of the method because of overloading. Let's go with print1. Even you can pass print1 for all the types. You can declare a double collection if you want. So instead of integer, you can call a double collection. Double ARR of 2, I put 1.5, 2.6, 3.3. Then you can call print1 of ARR 2. So this way you can create a generic method. So when I run this code, it will print all the string, integer, as well as the double. So your one method can work for multiple types. So for that reason, you can create your method as generics. So for making a generics, before the return type, whatever names you want, you can provide that. If you need two different types, put the two different types, how we use like this. So like this, before the return type, use this way. And whenever you need a type, use whatever letter you want. Please take a look at this one, how to create a generic method. Even my class is not generic, but I want to have some generic method. So this is the approach. Any questions here? Let me know.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
What will happen if we use the same method? I mean, if it is overloaded.
I think it doesn't show error, but that's what I changed the name, because if it is a string, it may go with the string collection. And if you pass any other types, it will go with print one. That's what, if you have the same name, when I print this one at the time, if you have the same name, print comma print. So when you pass string, it will go with the print overloaded method. But for other types, it will automatically go with the generic method. Make sense now?
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions you have? Okay, let's take a break for 10 minutes. 11 o'clock, we will continue the session. Please refresh yourself and do some stretch ups. That's important.